all this online. So yesterday we had a poetry class, you remember? What was that poem? Fantastic. You'll all be good poets. Right. What is the antidote to this? We were trying to understand. For example, having a list when you go to a supermarket. Today I'm trying to take you a little deeper to be more effective. Because if you think by attending 1 or 2 or 3 lectures here, you'll go out into this world, completely immune from all scams, all games, etc. Sorry. 1 million such schemes, pranks, antics, frauds are being dreamed of and invented and thought of every second throughout the world. So any amount of caution is not enough. What we can do is we can reduce the probability that we will fall for something. Or at least we will, before just taking the plunge, we will step back for a minute and think for a minute. That's the best that we can hope for. The real danger, I don't know whether you caught the point towards the end of yesterday's session, that's why I'm repeating it. The real danger, let me tell you, may not come from actually somebody telling you, you won this lottery, now give me your this number, that number, give me your debit card number, give me your bank account number. The actual danger may not come from there. Most of the people who fall for those are greedy. If you can control your greed, you won more than half the battle. The real danger, like I told you, comes from things like annuities, which are legal, which have the blessing of the regulator, and which are utterly crappy products. I say if anybody buys an annuity, he or she must wear a placard across their chest and back, both sides, saying, I know nothing about investment. Just take that one simple point. You are paying income tax on return of your own principal. Even in such a stupid product as a bank deposit, you don't do it. Such a stupid product as a bank deposit, you don't do it. But we happily do it in an annuity. So the danger comes from things that are officially sanctioned. They've got the blessings of maybe the RBI or the insurance regulator, IRDAI. That way SEBI is a much better and much more sensible regulator, but SEBI also does stupid things by giving sanction to crazy mutual fund schemes like sector funds, thematic funds. When the only thing we have learned over 3,000 years, not 3,000 years of investment is that the only one thing that works is diversification. And if you have not learned that, you better not invest. And SEBI still allows sector funds, thematic funds, non-diversified funds. Okay, but whatever it is, SEBI is in many respects better than somebody like the IRDAI and all that who only listen to the insurance companies. Although from time to time, especially in recent times in health insurance, they have done something good. Now, so that's where we are. One of the things that we have to do is learn to say no. There's a related thing to it. Say, I need to think about it. I will not give you an answer yes or no. The marketing world, the world that uses a lot of hype, is out to get an answer from you immediately. Sign on the dotted line, do this, do that. I remember many years ago, there was one ultra aggressive mutual fund branch of one of the leading mutual funds whose names I do not want to mention, but he was ultra aggressive in his approach to clients. He had no entry into our office. He could not even step into our office. He used to always tell other distributors when he used to accompany them to meet a client, you have to leave, you cannot leave without that person's check. Those days it was check. That means you have to somehow get something out of him. Never mind if whether the advice you're giving him is wrong or undesirable or not suited to him. leave with the money, get something out of it. Okay, this is the kind of thing. So one is straight away you can say no. The next thing you can do is, no, I still need to think about it. I need to do some research. Okay, where there are some good websites. There is one website called holisticinvestments.com. Any insurance scheme you can run past holistic investment. They analyze it sometimes in 20-30 pages. But somewhere you will have to look for something called the IRR, internal rate of return. Insurance schemes are being launched every day. Different names, different structures. I told you there are brilliant people like actuaries. The same crap in a new wrapper is launched. The remarkable thing when you go to a site like holisticinvestment.com is that when you check the IRR is always between 6 and 6.25% per annum. That's the final return you're getting. Okay, less than the inflation rate. But it is packaged in such a thing, put money in for 5 years. From the 20th, 25th year, you'll get so much. Try the same thing in a simple index mutual fund. You'll get much more. You'll get double the corpus if you wait for 20, 25 years. Give a long enough period and you can work miracles on paper without any difficulty. Just press a Excel sheet button and you'll get whatever you want, because you give a long enough time, you'll get a big enough corpus. That's the power of compounding. But there's a huge difference at compounding between 10% and compounding at 6%. End corpus, huge difference. Anyway, so one of the things we can adopt is saying no. Second thing is, I'll get back to you in 24 hours. Third, refer to the good sites. At least in insurance, holistic investment is good as of today. Many times what's good today can be compromised tomorrow. We have to guard against those things. Now I'm going deeper into how we can safeguard ourselves. One of the best ways to safeguard yourself is to take the trouble to acquire good knowledge. Trouble to educate yourself. Something like you are doing today. Some of you are here for internships, some of you are doing, but this particular company called Simplus, or you're still calling it Simplus Learning.
We call it Simplus Learning,
whatever. Eventually it will probably be something like called Simplus Learning, which is a branch of Simplus, the mutual fund distribution arm. Here things are given to you. Nobody is asking you to give money. Knowledge will be given, and good knowledge will be given without any selling, because neither Simplus nor for that matter my firm needs to sell anything to anybody. Even my firm stopped taking new clients in 2012. Okay, so ours, if you want to know the worst website in the world, it is our firm's website. Okay, not because Aaron did it. He's the guy who did it. He's a tech consultant. In 3 days that website was up and running, so you know how pathetic it must be.
3 hours actually.
3 hours, sorry, now it's even more pathetic. He just made it more pathetic. Okay, go to it not for anything else, go to it for entertainment, only entertainment. Okay, moment you type it, first in bold, probably the first or second sentence, we do not take new clients. Okay, it's that pathetic. Okay, fine. But if you all have any need for websites in the future, please go to him. This was on our instructions, he has made it pathetic. Okay, but educating yourself. The worst mistake you can do in self-education is depending upon any educational institution to educate yourself. The education we get today, especially in India, is superficial, shallow, unrelated to life. Okay? The whole objective seems to be to establish, promote, and perpetuate mediocrity. That is the education system that we have today. So I want to tell you, from my own life and my experience. What are the 5 greatest educational institutions in the world? They are: 1, a dictionary; 2, an encyclopedia; 3, a library; 4, a bookstore; and 5, today, internet resources, the good ones at least. When I was a kid, the one thing that I thank my parents for is they gave me a love for reading. It might have been fairy tales, novels, story, whatever, but a love for reading. And whenever I stumbled across a new word, the meaning of which I couldn't understand, and I went and I asked my mother, what's the meaning of this word? She would never give the meaning of the word. You'd go to a cupboard, take out a dictionary and give it to me. This, you have to go through this and find out. If when you read the definition of the dictionary, you don't understand some word in that meaning, go to that word next. For years, until we had online resources, for years, I would never read anything, including a novel, without the dictionary being by my side. That one simple thing that she gave transformed my life. It gave me a love for language, it gave me a love for new words, the most appropriate word to be used at the right time. And from then it was very easy in college to get into public speaking, into debate. Believe me, that is one education that I acknowledge. Not what we got in the classrooms. Not what is debit, what is credit, no. When I grew a little older, words were no longer a problem because the dictionary was there. Now concepts. What is the efficient markets hypothesis? What is a random walk in stock prices? These are concepts, not words. Dictionary will not tell you. That's when my dad told me, no, there is such a thing known as encyclopedia. And fortunately for me, there was the Karnad Sadashivrao library at Lighthouse Hill, next to St. Aloysius where I studied. St. Aloysius also had the Encyclopedia Britannica of those days. Remember, I'm talking about the 1970s and 1980, late 1970s and up to 1984. But no student could have easy access to the college library encyclopedia. But you go to the Karnad Sadashivrao library, there used to be a reference section. Almost nobody would come there. Comfortable benches and desks. You could even make notes. Completely lined with shelves. Encyclopedia Britannica and Encyclopedia Americana. 36 volumes or 40 volumes of each library, of each book. Each volume when you took, used to get your exercise with weights that day. It was 3 kilos minimum. And you could sit as long as you liked. 6 days a week, Tuesdays was a holiday, including Sundays. And you could research these concepts because those days we had not even heard the word computer. So, please. Is there a place there? Otherwise, there's a place here. You're fine there? Otherwise, there's a place here. You can even take the chairman's chair there. Oh, okay, right. Yeah. Okay. So, I could refer to this free of cost. Free of cost. Even a light and fan provided by the government. That's when I also realized that the government can actually do some good by providing people these facilities, people who thirst for knowledge. So, encyclopedia. Then of course a library and a bookstore. You can choose what you want. You can read what you want. In a bookstore you can browse. The good bookstores will always allow you to go through a book before taking a decision about whether to buy it or not. Internet resources. You have the good ones, and people who are by nature sensible and people who do reading, who understand what is good to read, they will really blossom in their own knowledge, because now you are gaining knowledge. not because you are forced to, but because you want to. Not to answer any exam. The moment you talk about our educational institutions, so much of rigidity there, so much of rigidity. This attendance, that, this thing, this exam, not. I always tell people we do not have a system of education. What we have is a system of examinations. There is only one examination that I believe and that all of us will consider worth answering, and that is called the examination of life. When I'm at the end of my life, if I'm still conscious and my entire life replays in a fast forward mode before me, am I happy with the life I lived? If the answer is yes, I have passed the examination of life. And how do we get there? One of the finest ways to get there is by educating ourselves and not depending on anyone for our own education. And that is by these 5 magnificent educational institutions: the dictionary, the encyclopedia, the library, the bookstore, and good internet resources. And when you do this, and when you pick the subjects you want to study, when you pick the skills you want to develop, education does not become a chore, or for that matter a bore. Education becomes something that is joyful. And I call this the joy of learning. These are the 2 most important concepts that I have used in my life, and I'm very, very happy that I used them. The joy of learning and the examination of life. Let me give you an example to understand what is the joy of learning. Take a typical school kid, first standard, second standard, whatever, 10th standard, every year, this exam, that exam, first exam, second exam, some midterm, something, there's something else, fine. If the examinations are good, I accept them, but this is by heart something and reproduce, vomit the same thing out at the exam. So what happens ultimately is brain damage, not real inspiring insights. When you're reading a novel, for example, you have picked the book up. You have done it. So when we have these school kids, I've seen them, including me, it happened to me. 8th standard is over. 8th standard is over, now I can throw all these books. Something else, yes, I want to get rid of them. Yeah, actually people grit their teeth and then just get them out of my sight. But there was no joy in that learning. Let me contrast that with a book that changed my life back in 1980. The second edition of A Random Walk Down Wall Street by Burton Malkiel. No Wikipedia, no Amazon, no Flipkart, no internet. We had not heard of the word computer. As a first PUC student, I'm sitting in the library of St. Aloysius College reading Time magazine. I could not afford a subscription to Time magazine. And towards the end of the magazine, there was a book review. Every week they used to review some books. And that review was of the second edition of A Random Walk Down Wall Street. And I was reading that review, small 1-column review, how Professor Burton G. Malkiel created a huge stir, controversy, uproar in 1973 when he came out with the first edition of the book, in which he said that a blindfolded chimpanzee throwing darts at a dartboard on which you have the newspaper sheet with the stock prices. Wherever the dart falls, pick that stock up, create a portfolio of 20, 30 stocks. this portfolio will perform as well or as badly as a portfolio picked by experts. That fascinated me. That absolutely fascinated me. Now, I would have no peace until I laid my hand on that book. Went to the best bookstores here, they had not even heard of the book. Contacted my cousin in Bangalore, Gangaram's Book Bureau, MG Road. He has a house on Church Street, 3 minutes walk away from Gangaram's. My cousin immediately went, he could probably hear that thirst for that book in my voice, or that great desire. Went to Gangaram's, came back and phoned me, sorry. They say they have not heard of this. No way I could get it. So what I did was, I wrote a letter. There was a letter you could write those days called an aerogram. The younger generation might not have even heard of it. Just like an inland letter here, you had an aerogram for foreign post. And wrote to my cousin who was a doctor in New York. Said, I badly want this book. Can you help me? It takes 14 to 15 days to go there, not like WhatsApp message. Then if he is prompt in replying, 14 to 15 days for his reply to come. Those days, telephone calls were too expensive. And within a month, I receive a reply from this cousin. I have already bought the book. I'm waiting for one of my colleagues to come back to India to send the book with him. About 3 or 4 months later, some colleague of his has come back to India, a doctor, but that person is from Andhra Pradesh, somewhere in Andhra Pradesh. From there, that person has been kind enough to send me the book by what's called a registered parcel. You have heard of registered post. This is a registered parcel. So the book came. And I was reading, and my parents were very worried because it's approaching the first PUC exams. And this fellow is not touching those books, he is busy reading this book that has come from the United States. And it was tremendously frustrating to read the book because I know nothing about all those US examples. But reading between the lines, there was knowledge. And then I told my dad, book, instinctively I know this high quality, highly reviewed, all those things. But there's so many things that I find it difficult. So he told me, you have to understand the hallmark of something known as a classic. A classic in literature, classic in music, classic in anything. The highest form of anything. A classic need not be easily understood. The difficulty that you have in understanding it is far greater than, for example, the difficulty you will have in reading an easy novel, a thriller, whatever it is, where the difficulty level will be virtually close to zero. In fact, you'll enjoy it. But my dad said, if you persist with this, the value that you will get from a classic will be many, many, many times greater than what you will get from a book that is not a classic. It can be same with Shakespeare, it can be same with music. That is why the value in a classic comes from the work itself, not from the way the work is dressed up in. I'll give you an example. Don't know how many of you are into, let's say, Hindustani classical music. Pandit Hariprasad Chaurasia, flute. At least little bit you have heard of the name? No, doesn't matter. Shiv Kumar Sharma, Zakir Hussain tabla. Few more people have heard of it thanks to his hairstyle. But the value there is not in his hairstyle. It's on the way his fingers can manipulate that tabla. But if you see their performances, what do you see? What you see is virtually nothing. Why? They'll be dressed in the most humble clothes, many times just a kurta and a pant. They will come and sit and they will start playing. Compare this to a rock concert or pop concert. You have to strain to see the performers in between clouds of gas, smoke, fire. People might come for the spectacle there. But in classical music, whether Western or Hindustani, of that matter Carnatic, it is called classical. What's the meaning of classical? If you go to the meaning of the word classical, it is something that cannot be changed. You'll be surprised to know the meaning of the word classical. Something that cannot be changed. You cannot edit or improve upon Shakespeare. You cannot improve upon a raga. Raga Hans Dwani, if you have heard of, by somebody like Kishori Amonkar singing it. You cannot improve upon that. If you take Western classical music, take any video, don't listen to it, but just see a 10-second how a symphony occurs. Symphony can be anything between very small symphony, 36 musicians, and on the higher side, New York Philharmonic, 107 musicians. 4 sections: strings, woodwinds, percussion, metal winds. Each section may have up to 15-20 musicians. There are times when they have to play, times when they don't have to play. They have to play loudly, they have to play softly. One conductor moving one little finger, everybody knows what has to be done. But they are dressed in their attire. They are not dressed in fancy things. You will not find firecrackers, smoke. Most people listen to them with their eyes closed. They have come for the music, not to see the fashion statements of the various musicians. This is classical. So in investment there are 3 classics. The Intelligent Investor by Benjamin Graham. You must read this book if you are interested in investment. Warren Buffett called it by far the best ever book written on investment. Now Benjamin Graham updated this book in 1972 or 73 and died in 76. Fortunately for us, a brilliant financial writer named Jason Zweig was given the permission by the trust that held the rights to Benjamin Graham's Intelligent Investor to update the book with commentary. And this Jason Zweig did about 21 or 22 years ago, 2003. He updated the book. In that exercise of updating the book, you understand what a classic is. Do you know how that book was updated? Anybody has read that book, Intelligent Investor, with updated commentary? That is where you understand the meaning of the word classical. Jason Zweig says, okay, I started, let me take Benjamin Graham's introduction, and now I will see what I can add or what I can change. He reads the introduction and he comes to the realization, I better not change a single word or comma or punctuation mark. This is so beautiful that whatever I try to do, I'll diminish it. Now you understand the meaning of the word classical, something that cannot be changed. Beethoven Symphony No. 3 cannot be changed, cannot be interpreted as you want. The only objective of the conductor who's conducting that orchestra and playing this particular work, the Third Symphony by Ludwig van Beethoven, the only one objective they have is, how can we ensure that the 2024 audience is hearing it the way an 1700 audience would have heard it? We want to be as true to the original as possible. A classical work cannot be changed. So you know what Jason Zweig did? The whole book is like this. Introduction by Benjamin Graham, not one word change. Next chapter, commentary on the introduction. Then chapter 1 by Benjamin Graham, not one word change. 1973 text is reproduced faithfully. Commentary on that. Chapter 3, commentary. Chapter 4, commentary. That was the brilliant way in which Jason Zweig updated their book. But now, if you all are seeking to read it, I would say don't do it. Wait for a few months. Because in October or November of this year, 2024, 3 to 4 months from now, Jason Zweig is, after 21 years, is coming out with the next updated version. Okay, so that's the first classic, The Intelligent Investor by Benjamin Graham. The second is A Random Walk Down Wall Street, the book I read, by Burton G. Malkiel. Note to be made by somebody here to remind me to send my recommended list of reading program. No, not the short one, the long one. I might have updated it further recently. Just make a note and I share it with them, please. I've got a reading program. If you really want to improve not just your life, not just your investment knowledge, but your life. So the second was A Random Walk Down Wall Street. It is now in its golden anniversary edition, 2023 50th anniversary edition. Professor Malkiel is 91 or 92. He is still teaching. The third book is Common Sense on Mutual Funds by John Bogle. I made a mention of it yesterday. Now these are the three widely regarded classics on investment. Now there's a fourth that, in my opinion, now these three books that they are classics, there is nobody who will argue with you. They'll readily say these are the investment classics. They are the Shakespeare of investment literature. But there's a fourth book that comes close to being a classic. The Four Pillars of Investing by Dr. William J. Bernstein. The Four Pillars of Investing by Dr. William J. Bernstein. Now this book also was published for the first time in 2003. And this is the book that I want to give you as an example to understand the meaning of the joy of learning. Fortunately for us, in last year, 2023, he has come out, after 20 years, he has come out with a second edition. So if you're ever buying and reading Dr. Bernstein's book, The Four Pillars of Investing, ensure that you are not buying the original edition. They try to sell those things to you. It should be the 2023 edition. So now, returning to this concept called the joy of learning. In Indian culture, one of the things that I've really admired and liked is the concept of Saraswati. What is Saraswati? The goddess of knowledge. Learning, education, knowledge, all those kind of concepts. The goddess of knowledge. 8th standard, final exam complete. Now I can throw my books. Does this gel with the concept of Saraswati? Now I want to give you the example of Dr. William Bernstein's Four Pillars of Learning. In the year 2003, end of 2003, or must have been in the beginning of 2004, I came across a book review in The Economist of the Four Pillars of Learning. Now, Economist may be a good magazine, but The Economist quoted John Bogle John Bogle is calling Dr. William Bernstein's book the best investment book he has read after the year 2000. So immediately I bought the book. And that book was so good. You'll be surprised to know that I read that book once in 2004, and then I have read it once completely cover to cover almost every year after that. 20 years have passed, or 19 years till the second edition. But in those 19 years, I have read that book not less than 15 times. And each time one more year has passed. I have seen one more year of my own practice, of teaching, of meeting various people, of seeing problems. There are sections in that book that make a meaning to you on reading number 13 or 14 that were not there in the previous reading. That is a classic. And the same thing happens to you whether you read The Intelligent Investor, whether you read A Random Walk Down Wall Street, whether you read Common Sense on Mutual Funds, or what I regard as very close to a classic, or the fourth classic, The Four Pillars of Investing by William Bernstein. When you read the book, you derive so much of value from it that you say, no, I have to read this book later. So learning investment is not reading 1000 books on investment. Learning investment is knowing which books to read and rereading them, preferably at intervals of 1 year. Because in 1 year, you have grown that much, another year of your life has passed, you have had new experiences during that 1 year. It gives you newer insights. Same book, same paper, same words. You don't even have to have an updated edition. Several of these books have not been updated for 10, 20 years. But they still give you new insights. That is Saraswati. And that is what we mean by a classic. So, this is what I mean by the joy of learning. And this is what I mean by, if you want to protect yourself, we are trying to understand structure and strategy. And one of the finest ways, yes, you can have your list when you go to the supermarket, you can tell people, learn to say no, you can tell people, no, I want to review, I want to think about this, all those things you can. But all those things are little hints. They will come from you automatically when you have a depth of knowledge. And that depth of knowledge comes from these 5 great educational institutions that I told you about. Who uses, who chooses, who profits, who pays. I didn't dream it up day before yesterday. It's because I've read. It's there in the good books. That stays with you. That's the value you derive. So, coming to structure and strategy again, which is our core subject. When you talk about structure and strategy, when you read books like this, when you deepen your knowledge, you don't take things at face value. Our main problem these days, whether as investors or as ordinary human beings, is everything is taken at face value. Everything is taken as face value. That's why we cannot differentiate between real news and fake news. Educated people are brainlessly forwarding things that they have come. It comes this side. If I don't send it to somewhere and 10 more people, probably I'll fall ill. So brainlessly, you don't do the smallest fact check. And there are so many fact check sites available. So when we come to investment and finance, the deeper our knowledge, the more we will analyze, the more we will think, the less, and this is important, the less and less we will take things at face value. If you want to get to some kind of financial nirvana, You should take zero things at face value. Question everything. You have to question everything. Yesterday, you got one example of it. Money is the root of all evil. When I hear that, I want to use a bad word, but I'll not use it here. But that's the kind of contempt I have for that kind of saying, which everybody will parrot for hundreds of years if necessary, without thinking. For me, everything will be subjected to pitiless analysis. That's what I call it. Pitiless analysis. So, when you deepen your knowledge, take two simple things: bank fixed deposit and annuity. So here's my bank fixed deposit, 7% rate of interest. 1% another, I get 7% on my bank deposit. When you have deepened your knowledge, no. Is this the structure of the bank deposit? No. What is the structure? The structure of any investment is something called the RRR, the real rate of return, which means return minus inflation minus taxation. So here's my 7%, or let's take it a little higher. Let's take 7.5%. Minus inflation has been 7% in the last 1 year. And if I'm in the 31.2% bracket, 30% plus 4% education cess, it comes to about some 2.84 or something like that. You will get a real rate of return when you work it out. This taxation take it as 31.2% of 7%, of course. But you'll get a figure something like, you can work it out, minus 1.84%. So the person who does not think, or the person with completely faulty knowledge says, I've got this bank deposit giving me 7.5%. I will be saying, I've got this bank account where I'm losing 1.84% per annum. You think that is bad news? No, there's worse. What's worse? 1.84 is, if you are reinvesting the 7.5, okay, I'm not spending it, I'm reinvesting it. But if I'm depending on this for my expenditure, okay, 7 rupees 50 paise out of 100 is coming into my bank account. On the 7.5, I pay some 2 point whatever it is of tax at 31.2%. Remaining 5 rupees or whatever is remaining, I'm spending it because I need money, assuming I have no other income. Then what am I losing? I'm not losing 1.84. I'm losing much more. I'm losing the inflation. My 100 rupees is worth only 93 rupees. 10 years, 15 years later, not even 15 years, 10 years later I wonder why I'm running out of money. Why have I no money? Should I start spending from principal? I'm just giving you various examples to understand structure. And our old friend of yesterday, the annuity. This is much worse than this. If you think this is bad, or minus 7% is bad if I'm spending, this is much worse, because apart from all this evil that is here also, because this is fully taxable, I am paying an additional tax on the return of my own principal, as we saw yesterday. Okay, so now you understand the difference between the brainless knowledge that is given to us by our educational institutions and learning to think like this. This you get only from not just books but from the classics. And the saddest part is, none of the classics are taught to you. I don't care if to satisfy some bureaucrats you want to, but at least 1 or 2 subjects should be on books like this. And this kind of education should be given to everybody, Now, I never wanted to. Very clear when I was in the high school that I never wanted to take science in college. I was absolutely clear. But in those days, in the, what do you call it, lower classes or high school or whatever you want to go, up to the 10th standard, we had physics, we had chemistry, we had maths, and we had biology. Now, what we studied, why we studied it, I will not go into. But if you could study those things which are absolutely irrelevant to me, because till today my sleeping during those classes has not affected my life in one way. If I don't know biology, it doesn't matter. If I don't know medicine, it does not matter. I should know the right professional to go to. That's all. So probably 46 years since I left college, or 51 years since I left, or 50 years since I finished my high school, 55, 56 years, that has not affected me. But while not knowing rocket science, not knowing chemistry may not affect me, not knowing about personal investment will affect everybody. The rocket scientist cannot say, okay, you don't want rocket science, fine, I don't want investment. Fine. Can he live without handling money? There are some things that are needed for everyone. So while chemistry may not be required, a little bit of education about basic hygiene, basic health, that is required even for all kids. Similarly, a basic, simple, effective introduction to personal finance and investment is also required. And required at the high school level, if not the middle school level. Required at the high school level, not at college. It should start there. That is where it should start. If you can learn chemistry in the high school, you can learn investment in the high school or earlier. Yes?
It is one of the life skills.
Yes, life skills. Yeah, it is one of life skills. I completely agree with you. There are some simple life skills. Nobody knows what the value is. Any students of economics here? Oh, some people have heard. Don't worry, I'm not embarrassing anybody. I'm a very poor student myself. Consumer surplus. Have you heard of the concept? Consumer surplus. A newspaper costing 5-6 rupees. Its value is more than those 5-6 rupees you pay. Anyway, there is a consumer surplus in certain life skills, as Deepak pointed it out. You may not ride a bicycle or a two-wheel scooter or motorbike in your entire life, but having a two-wheeler balance is a good thing. That's a life skill. One more life skill, swimming. Doesn't matter whether you're living on a coastal city like Mangalore or in the Himalayas, doesn't matter. But knowing swimming is useful. Number 3, even before you age, not on the roads, but in certain connected grounds, maybe at the age of 17, a knowledge of driving a motor vehicle is useful. One more life skill. At the age of 15, I learnt touch typewriting. I've got a speed of 60 words per minute. I don't have to look at the keyboard to type. I can look at a paper and type here and fly on it. Today we use what we call the QWERTY keyboards. But most people I know have no clue about touch typewriting. How much of time you could save and how much more you could do if you had that one small skill. Similarly, even a handshake acquaintance with personal investment is very important in the early stages. Otherwise, we will always fall prey to somebody else who is going to mislead us there. So now let's move ahead, giving you more and more examples, because I'm not going to speak on anything other than structure and strategy, in various ways trying to give you examples. So the next thing that I want to tackle is, yes, structure. Once people start working and earning money, they earn an income, they have an expenditure, and the remaining is savings. This is the structure. Now, what strikes you when you see this equation? Can anybody tell me? What strikes you when you see this equation? This is a very common equation. I'm also earning a little money, I have also got my expenses, and I've got savings. Most people do. But when it is presented in this way, give me the one thing that strikes you. You are now students of structure. Sorry? I'll give you a hint. We are giving priority to what? Next.
Income minus savings equal to expenses.
When you see this, which comes last?
Savings.
Savings. When you see this, the last priority is given to savings. Or to put it in English language, I earn an income, I meet my expenditure, what remains goes into savings. What remains? The implication is if nothing remains, nothing goes into savings. Correct? My last priority. But if you do a simple awareness exercise, even today, of course, people are working a little more than 60, but in many cases 60 is still the retirement age. And today nobody bats an eyelid when people live into their 90s. 60 to 90. Just think about it for a minute. 3 decades. 30 years. Almost a working lifetime. If you compare this period of 3 decades with the 30 years that went before it, 30 to 60 versus 60 to 90. In 60 to 90, what may happen? Your energy levels slowly start going down. Your ability to work and earn diminishes. Maybe you can work for 5, 6, 7, 8 years, but it slowly comes down. Your susceptibility to disease goes up. Your capacity to withstand financial shocks decreases. Supposing you are living, your lifespan is 87, but you run out of money at 75, what's going to happen to you? Do you then go and knock on the doors of some ashram or depend upon your children or any other relations? That can be one of the most humiliating experiences you can ever have. I am dependent. Physically dependent is a different matter. Financially dependent. That is a very humiliating experience. So, what would help us in our latter life is rock solid investments built upon savings, correct? But in the equation, we give savings the last priority. We give it the last priority. Structure. This is the structure. From structure to strategy. All my series of lectures, this time 3 lectures, 4 lectures, I don't know how many I'll give, but every one of them is going to be on these two. Now what has happened? That last priority, third class. Top priority, what I do with my money. Somebody said money, yes, money, correct, money in the form of income. But the priority with what I do with that money, savings gets priority over expenditure. This is all very easy to talk about. Now I want to talk about something very interesting. How do we do these things? How do we get these here? How do we get people to move from here to here? What comes to our rescue is a lovely field of study. I hope some of you take it up someday. Behavioral economics or behavioral finance. So let me right away go, what's behavioral finance? Anybody can define behavioral investment or behavioral finance in one line. What is it? I'll give you a hint. It is a mix of two fields of knowledge, two subjects. What are those two subjects? Sorry? Correct. And?
Money.
The hint is there in the very name. No. You're close but not close enough. Psychology and behavioral economics. Psychology and economics coming together are behavioral economics. One of the doyens, one of the founders, one of the absolute leaders of behavioral economics died a few weeks back, Daniel Kahneman. I don't know whether you ever come across, it doesn't matter. Now forget about all that, let's be practical. So let me tell you this real thing that happened. You've heard of a country called the Netherlands. Its capital is Amsterdam. The main airport, international airport of Amsterdam is the Schiphol International Airport. Schipol or HOL, I forget, but Schiphol is the way it's pronounced. Schiphol International Airport. What were they noticing? Not in your lobbies and your lounges, but in the male bathrooms, where you have the urinals all in a row. What were they noticing? Years back, they were noticing that there was a lot of spillage. And we are not talking about in India. We are talking about in Amsterdam, where hygiene is very, very great. There was spillage. And they're trying to analyze and analyze. One of the things they said was, there is a loudspeaker even in the bathroom. So while I'm doing my business there, 1 year is, on the announcement is my flight being announced. As a result of which, I'm there where the flight is, I'm not looking at priorities down below. Is that the cause? They were trying to analyze, and somebody was trying to come out with a solution. Some brilliant chap, absolutely brilliant chap, came out with a realistic drawing of the common housefly. You know how big it is, this big. Common housefly, 3 millimeters, 4 millimeters. Right near the trap of the male urinal, on that white porcelain, a black figure painted right there. Why did they do it? Once again, a knowledge of psychology. The male psychology. Give them a target and they will aim. They did that. Within a month, when they did a survey, the spillage had decreased by 80%. This is what I mean by education, where education can be applied to life. What do we do in this? Two things we do is, one is we give people a test. All of us have been terrorized by our process of examinations during our education. At the same time, although I may not be interested in education, I still want to pass the exams. A failing, I don't like to be associated with, I'm a failure. No. Somehow I have to pass. So the first thing we do is we use behavioral economics to create in someone a sense of high self-esteem and also low self-esteem. And how we do that is by applying, I can't do it here, right? I can do it here because I don't want to, applying a simple exam called the savings ratio. What is the savings ratio? How much of my net income do I save per month? In personal investment, believe me, you don't need mathematical knowledge beyond upper KG. We need only two figures. One figure is normal living expenses. We call it NLE. The other figure is net income. Normal living expenses is, I don't have to explain. I need this much to live per month. All extraordinary expenses we will not take into account, only normal living expenses. What is net income? Net income is income minus deductions minus taxation. I'm earning 1 lakh per month salary, but 1 lakh per month is not finding its way into my bank account. After taxes and after deductions, 80,000 rupees is coming into my bank account. So we'll take that example. Net income is 80,000 per month. Now the savings ratio, I always present it to clients, to investors in the form of an examination. So here's the examination report card. Unsatisfactory, which means you have failed the exam. Satisfactory, good, and excellent, outstanding, whatever you want to call it. These are the 4 scenarios. I failed the exam, just pass. First class, I am in the top 5%, 10%. Outstanding, distinction, whatever you want to call it. So framed in the context of a college exam. Why do we frame it here? Because instinctively, even if I'm talking to a 50-year-old, I don't want to fail the exam. At least I want to pass. Having passed, I can see whether I can at least get here, something like that. Now, net income is 80,000. I'm saving 10,000 rupees per month. What is the savings ratio? 10,000 divided by 80,000 expressed as a percentage. So how much is 10,000 by 80,000 expressed as a percentage? 12.5%, correct? I'm bad at maths, I'm asking you. 12.5? Correct. In the Indian context and also the Gulf NRI context, if I am saving less than 25% of net income, I fail the exam. Earn 80,000, save 10,000, 12.5%, fail. Satisfactory. Earn 80,000, save 20,000, which is 25%, passed, just passed. Good will come to later. What is excellent? Equal to or greater than 50%. I'm earning 80,000, I'm blowing up 40,000, but I'm saving 40,000. Fabulous. Not many people can do this, let me tell you. What is good? Anything in between is good. 30%, 35%, anything in between is good. You don't have to sit and cry that you're not here. You have to be greatly concerned if you're here. If you're here, my first objective should be to pass. Once I'm here, can I one day get here? If I'm here, if I consistently maintain it throughout my life, more than enough. Even if I'm somewhere between this, not bad. If I'm consistent about it, not bad. Behavioral economics. I'll give you a classic case of a young girl, MBA, and very, not just bright, very good personality, intelligent, good communicator, actual pleasure to discuss with her on anything. Daughter of existing clients of ours. We were doing her investment plan. Calculating the savings ratio. When other youngsters of her age and her qualifications were considering themselves lucky to start a job, this was years ago, so they would be very lucky if they started at 25,000 rupees per month. This girl had started at 70 to 80,000 rupees per month, first job after MBA, no experience. She managed to land that kind of a job, so you know she's caliber. She's finding it difficult to save 10,000 rupees a month. But I'm questioning her. And as we investigate, the whole problem is here. Huge expenditure, living life very happily. When I'm trying to explain to her, no, at this age, I'm 24. At this age, if I can't enjoy life, I said, I'm all with you to enjoy life. But I said, now, I have to throw the book at you, or at least the textbook at you. And this is the textbook. And I said, you are failing. I could see the impact on her. I am so clever, I did this, I did that. Other people are struggling to get 25,000 rupee jobs. I started at 70, 80,000 rupees. And you're saying I said, yes. This is investment knowledge, not just for you, all clients, same exam. I give that same exam to myself. But you are here. She could not stomach that. Just because that was such a blow to her ego, she straight jumped from here to here. Said, okay. But she said, money comes, money goes. So the first step where we applied behavioral economics is give her a shock. You are not as smart as you think you are in this particular, in other things, yes. Here you are a failure. No, but I want to be a winner in everything. If you want to be a winner, you have to be here. But you are here. So you have to tell me whether you want to make the journey from here to here. You want only 10,000 rupees, I'll tell you how to invest 10,000 rupees. I have no problem. But my duty is to go a little beyond that and to open your own eyes about whether you are doing a good job in investing. In all other things, you are doing a good job. I don't deny that. So this was the first thing. Second thing we have to address is money goes. Money does not remain, correct? So how do we apply behavioral economics there? Just like those brilliant chaps painted that housefly. Here, what we do is, once the plan is done, we find out which day of the month the salary is credited to the bank account. Within 3 to 5 days from that, investment is gone. You have changed this year. So, on the first day of the month, if salary is credited for the previous month or the last day, whichever it is, all SIPs are registered, automatic process for it to go from on the 5th of the month. So now she was earning 80,000, let's say net, and she wanted to jump straight to good, excellent, etc. I said, no, do it step by step. You are saying 10,000, let's see whether we can do 30,000. And the remaining 50,000 is yours to blow up as you want. Enjoy life, but plan a little bit on your enjoyments also. Get better value for money. Now what happens is, I told her, remember now your income is no longer 80,000. Your income is only 50,000. You have to reorient. But before you know it, within 3-4 days, 30,000 will have gone into savings. Otherwise, what happens today? You may drink a tea for 20 rupees somewhere. ping, you get a thing on your phone, and many times you get what's the balance remaining there. So second day of the month, oh, 1 lakh is in my account. No, it's not 1 lakh, it's only 70,000. Then you're a little more careful. Okay, I'll impose a little self-discipline on me. I'll keep my enjoyments for maybe the last few days of the month. I'll plan better. Planning is also it's not just savings and investment that can be planned, even your enjoyments can be planned. If you plan a holiday well, you get better enjoyment out of it. You waste less money. Because games are being played everywhere, remember. You go to holiday destinations from Goa, they are masters at making you spend more money. Unnecessarily. Necessarily, I can understand. So if you plan well, these are the days, this is what we are going to do, etc. I plan everything for my holiday, from Mangalore to Mangalore. Everything is planned. You get much better value. So now I'm giving you an example of how we move from structure to strategy. Even in the case of certain clients who are challenging by using this. So behavioral finance you use again and again and again in your everyday career, your everyday life. So when you all start working also, you all may have all this knowledge, you all may be quite disciplined, but give savings the priority. Once you know what your savings ratio is, where you stand, that part of it should disappear quickly. What is left, I will live my life for the rest of the month on this. Then you'll do very sensible things. You'll slowly build up a little buffer in your SBI account. Never mind, you can do it 1 month, 2 months expense. If your expenses as a youngster, your expense is 20,000 per month or 25,000 per month, you keep 50,000 in your SBI account, don't worry about it. Not a problem, not a waste. If by doing that, you will not be disrupting your regular savings program, it is worth it. Old people will keep much larger, 3 lakhs, 4 lakhs they'll keep in the SBI account, no problem. They are scared, hospitalized in this, that. If their money is not there, they feel insecure. When you are of a certain age, don't feel insecure. No? You are getting only 2.75 there, you could have got more in a, yes, all those arguments are there, but don't feel insecure, feel comfortable. Late in life, if you are feeling insecure, what's the problem? By keeping that money in the SBI account, if you feel better, feel better. That also has a value. You understood this? Okay, structure, strategy, and how we address it, and how we address it using different levels of knowledge. This example I gave you was by behavioral. Next. I'm sure everybody has heard of this. Public Provident Fund. Okay. What's its major feature? You have heard of this also. Exempt, exempt, exempt. The only investment in the world now left, which is EEE. When you put money into it, you can get a deduction under income is, your investment up to 1,50,000 per year is exempt under section 80C. All interest is exempt, all withdrawals are exempt. No country in the world has this. Now I do admit that this E, its importance has come down drastically. Why? New tax regime. Absolutely. More and more people are shifting to the new tax regime, and everyone should always examine whether it is new tax or old tax that is better for them. But if you have got a large housing loan or all that and you require exemption apart from the housing loan, then this still carries an exemption, EEE. Whereas in all the advanced countries, let's take the US, the equivalent to section 80C, there is something called the 401k plan. There are others also, but we'll take the 401k. Sorry?
Roth IRA. Something called Roth IRA.
No, I'm coming. That IRA is for people who earn very low levels. Okay.
I heard a case where PayPal. Shares of PayPal worth $10,000.
Hmm.
Now it has grown to some $4 billion. Tax
Hmm. You're holding them?
I don't know.
All right. Okay. Hmm. Hmm.
So tax free when he sold it.
When he sold it because it was in the IRA. Right. True. What Arun says is absolutely right. IRA is called the individual retirement account in the USA. Individual retirement account are generally for people who are, say, your clerical jobs, typists, clerical, those level. But the main people, for most people who are, let's say, $60,000 per annum or more, you're talking about the 401k. Now, the 401k has a regular plan and something called a Roth plan, ROTH. The regular plan is exempt, taxed. When you put money, that money up to get right now it's some $21,000 or $22,000 you can put per year. That is, you're not paying tax on it. It can be a huge saving because when you total up all the federal taxes, you can go as high as 39% in the US. All income, appreciation, whatever you want to call it, your growth is completely tax-free. When you retire and when you start making withdrawals, whatever you withdraw is added to your income and is taxable. EET. Now the Roth is the opposite. TEE. When you invest, no exemption. This is common. All appreciation is exempt. When you withdraw, it is exempt. Now, for a moment, forget about the PPF. Concentrate only on this. Concentrate only on this. I want to ask you a question here. What is the rationale of the government of the United States behind EET? The rationale is, why should it be taxable? Some old person, 70 years old, is now withdrawing. You're making it taxable. The rationale is, that person is likely to withdraw only when they have stopped working. So there is no salary income, other income. So I have fallen to a very low level in tax, not 36%, 39%. Therefore, even if there is tax will be at a much lower level that I'm used for. That's the rationale of the government. But I just told you for general knowledge. Now forget about it. Only concentrate on these two lines. This is the structure of a USA investment. Tomorrow it may even come to India, we don't know. But concentrating on these two lines, if this is the structure, come out with a strategy for me. I am a 30-year-old person. I'm eligible for this. Health and other things permitting, I intend to work till 65, which is another 35 years from today. I'm coming to consult you that I want to put $10,000. I can afford to put $10,000 per year into my 401k plan. Now somebody has told me that these are the options. This is the structure. EET, TEE into 401k. Tell me the strategy. Where should I put money? How much should I put? Which option? How do I divide? What do I do? Any wild guess, no wrong answers. However stupid you think your answer will be, remember that in my time I have given more stupid answers.
Put it in TE, second plan. Because it will compound every year that passes, it will increase.
Yeah, but supposing for the sake of argument, your basic concept is definitely not wrong. Sake of argument, I take an exemption at the time I'm putting. So to that extent I can save more, I've got more valuable money there. That will also compound. In the long run, the benefits are roughly equal. My question is, I am come to you, I'm 30, I'm going to work for another 35 years. Right now, this year I can put, and probably for the next few years, around 10,000 rupees per. I've been told that I've got these two options. What do I do? What's the first question that you have to ask? Or what's the first piece of knowledge that you have to gather when you see this? Think, I want you to think. Yes, Professor. You're thinking about something else. Your next company you're floating.
I'm thinking about something.
All right. I'm sure you're thinking. But if I may request you, humbly request you.
First one.
First one. Why?
Firstly, tax exemption.
Okay.
And
But when you withdraw, one day you will be taxed. Let's assume that it's you and you're going to live till 100.
so this tax.
So from the age of 70 to the age of 100, even if you take it in installments, it's going to be taxed. Now.
This is tax based on the tax bracket, right?
Yes, yes.
No tax to pay. Let's say income not coming to spending on the company's account.
You are 30, you are going to 65. Fellow like you investing for 35 years, your name will be Warren Buffett. So no question of I'll be low tax bracket, high tax. I don't buy all that. Yeah. That's why the time horizon, 35 years of disciplined investing, I'm going to make a lot of money. What's the first question that I would ask? Behavioral finance teaches us that we always view things in absolutes. Should it be here? Should it be here? Can we ask a question whether both are possible? Can I divide between the two? And you can. In the US they call it, you can rock and roll, take on rock and roll. Okay? You can put $5,000 each. What is going to happen to this guy after 35 years, I just told you. But the rest of us do not know what's going to happen to us in 35 years' time, where we will be, whether we'll be alive or dead, and if we are alive, how long we are going to live thereafter, how much we have made. We don't know anything. Play it safe. The best of both worlds. You get some exemption and you get some relief. Exemption you get today, instant gratification. Relief you get at the end, you're preparing for delayed gratification. When you have retired, you check out how much I need at that time, what are the tax rates at that time, how much I must withdraw or can withdraw, and in a normal year, if what I require is only for my normal living expense, and although it is taxable what I'm withdrawing, the tax rates are much lower than when I was working and earning a higher amount, withdraw from here. On the other hand, my wife and I want to go on a whole world cruise, so we need a lot of money to be withdrawn. Well, you can withdraw without a pinch from this area. Even in a normal year, what prevents you from withdrawing something from here, something from here? Suddenly, you're paying much less tax, no? And sometimes withdrawing something from here, even in a normal year, you may fall into a lower tax bracket. You have got a whole choice of things. Okay? So, this is also a strategy. Once you know the structure, sometimes inside a structure there can be substructures, there can be strategies, sub-strategies. So long, we are not trying to make things complicated. We are just trying to derive value out of it. You understood this? So that's the United States, just to tell you. But now let us come back to the PPF. If you know the PPF, it's a 15-year scheme. Actually, 16 years, because the year you open the account is ignored. Everything is that from the end of that financial year they calculate 15 years, but it's all right. 15. After 15 years, you can renew it 5 years at a time. As long as you live, no problem. So if somebody opened it at 20, 35 is the first. That person is living till 95. From 35 to 95, that person can renew at 5 years at a time. Second, lot of people have invested in the PPF. There are PPF account holders in this city whose balances are well over 1 crore, 1.5, 1.4 crores. Every year they have put money. It is compounding tax free and they have never withdrawn. But in retirement, you put it there to withdraw. Especially if you've got stocks. That year the stock market is down. You can withdraw from the PPF. But withdrawal is only once in a financial year. So here are my two problems. When I examine, now this is structure. This is structure now. Forget about this now, only this portion. This is the structure of my PPF. Excellent investment because the world's only investment that is EEE. But 15 years is a long time for the first cycle and then 555. So we have a problem on liquidity. Next is when I want to withdraw no monthly, no quarterly, only one withdrawal in a financial year. I'm able to withdraw, let's say 50 lakhs. But I just withdrew 3 lakhs. Now I badly need another 10 lakhs. No, I have to wait for the next financial year. So this is the structure. Are there strategies to improve this structure? What do we advise? Open a PPF account the moment a child is born. Child born, birth certificate, name. Open a PPF account. By the time the child is 18, child is still not a major. At 15 years, majority is 18, 15 years, one cycle is over. Renew the account. Then educate the child. We have taken all this trouble. You also have to take the trouble. Luckily today you get reminders from the banks, etc. Formerly it was difficult. This child, 15 first renewal, 20 second renewal. Now we come to the third renewal. Third renewal when the child is 25. The child will have probably finished graduation, post-graduation, might have started working. To keep the account open is the easiest thing on earth. Only 500 rupees per year, not per month. You make one deposit of 500 rupees, account is open. You forget that, you can pay 50 rupees fine and pay the 500 rupees and the account will be regularized. All very, very investor friendly, nothing to worry. But if you educate this particular individual that we took this trouble so that your liquidity cycle gets shortened to 5 years from 15 years, you'll never see. And this person appreciates that and continues plus 5, plus 5, plus 5, plus 5 till 95 or 100 or whatever the lifespan is. This individual would never have known the PPF to have a 15-year cycle. Correct? Every 5 years you can take out 60% of the accumulated balance at the end of the last 5 years. You should not. During your working life you should not. That's how you build 1.5, 2 crores in the PPF. This is one strategy. Shortening the liquidity cycle. It may look silly, but let me tell you that 5 years liquidity is far superior than 15 years. You'll only know this when there's some terminal illness, some major calamity, how important it is to be able to pull out money faster than you had anticipated. Here's our second problem. I can make only one withdrawal in a financial year. Let's say I have 1.5 crores in the PPF account. I want to provide for my expenses. I've got other sources also, but from the PPF I have decided I want to take out about 50,000 rupees per month for my expenses, which means 6 lakhs per year. I can't think in terms of per month. Why? Only once. But 50,000 per month is my idea per month. Total is 6 lakhs. So I will make a withdrawal once every year. But by the time you reach retirement after 30, 40 years of the PPF, you'll be able to take out, even if you want 60, 70, 80 lakhs from a 1.5 crore account. Now my question is, what is the best strategy to adopt for withdrawal? I want to withdraw only 6 lakhs. But once I withdraw 6 lakhs, I can't withdraw more. Therefore, what is the best strategy to adopt for withdrawal from the PPF account? You will never invest in the PPF, only equity. You can withdraw any time. Okay, he doesn't have a problem. The rest of us do. Read this again carefully. How do I enhance value here? I can withdraw a large amount. Let me try to give you a hint and try to make you think better. Right now I can withdraw 60 lakhs from my PPF account. I don't need to. 50,000 comes from my, okay, once I withdraw 6 lakhs, that's about 6 months or 5 months of expenditure is met from that, fine. I withdraw. My worry is, once I have withdrawn, if I suddenly need 10, 20 lakhs for a medical or other emergency, maybe I have to depend on other investments, but I can't hit the PPF for this. My worry is what? While I've got good stocks and equity mutual funds, if at that time the stock market is very badly down, 30%, 40% down, there's COVID, something has happened, I don't feel like touching my stocks. I would have liked to take from here only, but I can't because I have to wait for another financial year. You understood my predicament, how do I get over that? Now you tell. The answer is in this.
What if you withdraw on 31st March?
Perfect. This is what I like. This is where you think. Okay? Need not be 31st March. In March, whatever I'm withdrawing for my living expenses, 20th of March, have it 20th, 31st you don't know, bank holiday, somebody else, okay. Around the 15th, 20th, if I withdraw on the 20th of March 6 lakhs, I may need 20 lakhs in an emergency the next day, but I know that if not the next day, in the next 1 week, 2 weeks, 10 days, 11 days, 1st of April, I can go and withdraw and say April Fool. Okay, because I understood the structure per financial year. So financial year, like you said, you're right, 31st is a working day, 1st is a working day. So I can withdraw 31st, I can walk into the bank the next day and withdraw some more. Withdraw in the month of March. You understood this? So now we are beginning to understand how important it is to know things, how important it is to see the structure, how important it is to move from structure to strategy. So I don't know when I'll see you next, but definitely sometime next week I'll be in touch with my headmaster here and we will fix a date. Time will be roughly this 11:30 to 1, I think convenient for everybody. Okay. I will try to give you a lecture at least once a week till I've finished what I want to say. Right.
Questions?
Any questions?
So I've got a question.
Uh-huh.
Deepak was discussing about this yesterday. Instead of me doing an SIP directly into equities.
Instead of doing an SIP directly into equity
Mutual funds. I parking in some liquid funds.
And when the market is down,
Parking what?
parking money into liquid funds.
But there is a small contradiction of terms here. SIP is something that I've got to do every month.
Yes, yes.
Money, when you say I've got something like a lump sum and SIP do not go together. So are we talking about SIP only, or are we talking about a lump sum?
I don't have lump sum. It's
You don't have a
SIP.
lump sum, so you're going to SIP.
Yes, SIP.
Which means you're asking me whether the SIP should go into equity funds or a liquid fund.
First going to liquid funds.
Hmm.
When the market is down 25%,
Hmm.
completely switch to equity.
If you think that the market is high, and therefore I don't want everything to go into equity, and I want some part of it to go into a liquid fund, what you are suggesting is eminently possible. I wouldn't do it for one reason. When you've got an SIP, lot of people thought that when the Sensex hit 50,000, this is the all-time high. Okay, by the time they got up from their sleep, it is 76,000. So we don't know which way it's going. In life, a wire media works very often. You want to be cautious. I'll give you an option. 2,500, if it is 5,000 rupees, 2,500 to a Nifty 100 index fund, 2,500 rupees to a liquid fund, 2 SIPs. Okay? Now look at the strategy. Same thing. In this also you apply structure and strategy. What if this happens? What if that happens?
50% there, 50 safe.
50% there, 50% safe. Now look at the strategy and look at the outcome. Markets drop heavily. Yes, my SIPs that went into equity are going to be affected. However, if they drop to margin of safety levels, very definitely I've got into liquid fund to put something here. On the other hand, if all my predictions and calculations were wrong, and the market keeps on going up like one of our ISRO rockets, then you've got 50% of your money there, which is getting that benefit.
And here earning like 8 to 10.
That's okay. You still keep this one day. Benjamin Graham said this. That's why he came out with a 50-50 balance strategy, which is one of the best in the world. But what he said was, and this is worth listening, this is where you get the knowledge from the classics. What he said was, no matter how strongly you feel the market is overvalued, if you feel that it is very high, tomorrow is going to fall, no problem, still send 25% of your money into equity. Put 75% into something safe, but don't put 100% into something safe. Similarly, you may think that the market 50% fall, this is absolute rock bottom. If you are a prudent investor with limited resources especially, still continue to put 25% in something safe and put 75% into equity. So I said 50-50 balance is ideal, but never go beyond 75-25 either way. Regardless of what you think, you'll probably have a better long-term outcome. And the best of all is, of course, to rebalance. Every year rebalance. Okay, 1 year you put 50,000, indexes went up, so your debt fund 50,000 went only to 53,000. Equity fund 50 went to 70,000. Okay, that excess 15,000-16,000, get it back to debt. Similarly, in the markets fall, get it back. Rebalancing is fantastic. But if you're talking about SIP, if I were in your place, I would still send 2,500 into the liquid fund. Your point about markets being high is taken, but since I don't know, I would also send 2,500 into equity.
Now completely into equity. Gold was in 10%, gone.
Completely into equity?
100%.
I am disappointed in you. I thought completely into private equity.
No, public.
Okay, public. Okay, fine. All right, on that note, we will close for today. Thank you.
Yes. Thank you, Gerard.